Single parents and their kids are not problems to be fixed. They are not opportunities for ministry. They are not projects. They are people who need loving relationships centered on Christ, which is, by the way, what every single person in your entire congregation needs, including you. It's not rocket science. But how do we develop friendships with single parents and their kids, keeping their particular needs in mind? Let's look at Genesis 16, where we find Hagar, who's the first single parent to testify to God's very personal care and kindness. You know the story. When God does not appear to fulfill his promise to Abraham and Sarah regarding the birth of a child, Sarah cooks up a plan for her husband to sleep with their Egyptian slave girl, Hagar. Hagar becomes pregnant, gets in conflict with Sarah, and runs out into the desert to die. Now, Hagar is a foreigner. She is not part of the covenant nation that God is establishing with Abraham. She is a slave, and she is a woman. In terms of status in her patriarchal society, Hagar occupies the very lowest possible rung on the social ladder. She's utterly powerless. And now, as a pregnant woman, she is utterly vulnerable and unable to protect her baby. There is not a less important or more vulnerable person on the planet at this moment than Hagar. And yet this is the very person to whom the angel of the Lord appears. And listen to how tender he is with her. He dignifies her in the same way that he dignified Adam in the garden. He asks her a question. Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from and where are you going? Even though he already knows every detail about Hagar, servant of Sarah, already he invites her to share her story with him in her own words. This is an invitation to relationship with the God who created the universe to the most vulnerable person in it. What an acknowledgement of her worth and her value. Then God provides for her by sending her back to Abraham. That is not going to be easy, but he gives her a promise that her son will be made into a great nation. She's overcome with gratitude and wonder. And then this single mom is honored with being the very first person in the Bible to name God, saying, "You are the God who sees me." What's more, he tells her to call that son Ishmael, which means God hears, because the Lord has listened to your affliction.